Hey everyone, welcome back to our study, Unchained, Living Free from Surprisingly Common Addictions. This week, we're talking about Chapter 4, The Everybody Struggle. Know where the title of this chapter came from? It's something everybody struggles with, money. During this session, we're going to break down 3 common money struggles: debt, stuff, and security. Let's get started.
So at first we did it because we thought it was right.
Right.
And we first got married, and when we sat down and made our budget and our bills, we were like, okay, we're going to tithe, which was challenging because he was in school and I was the only one with a job as a first-year teacher. And when you write that check, it was like, oh, like what else could we do with that? But we just stayed faithful in giving because we knew that's what was right. But as we started doing it more, we saw how God was providing for us in a lot of ways, and just trusting Him and being faithful in school and finding jobs and
you never missed it. You never looked back and thought, man, if we could have not done that, we could have had this. You never ever looked back on that and thought about, regret. There was never regret when you gave money away.
When we worked a job, and of course we tithed, and then we went into business for ourselves, and things were tight. Of course they all are. And during the time of business and one thing and another, you have these ups and downs, and you hear about businesses going broke. Well, I did, but I didn't lose everything. I'd lost all my money, and we literally were broke, money-wise. We were broke. Had a building, had a house we lived in, and all this, and we couldn't give anything. We were scrounging money, but when you live where we live and you have a nice building and so forth, they think, well, gosh, So it was a decision on our part, and a lot of it was just on, Priscilla a lot of times said, she just, felt like, well, I don't know, what can we do? So we started giving a very little bit. And this is a part of the story that is so uncanny. I said, you know what, I'm gonna start giving $5. I'm gonna give $5. That was really, we were married by then and we'd been giving, but this was really the test. Started giving that $5, and I said, well, Lord, I'm gonna give this $5, and I'm embarrassed even to give it. I mean, going to church, but I was giving nothing. And so it's amazing how that $5, then He made it where I could give $10, and then $20, and then $30, and it just kept going. And now the money we give now, it just looks like, well, we don't have any, but we give it, and then it's always returned multiples in multiple times. It's never just what I gave. It's always much more. And it still feels tight sometimes.
Money has the capacity, no matter who you are, what you do, or how much money you make, it always has the capacity to function as either your security or your identity. And when you just automatically say, no matter what, I'm giving away at least 10%, it kind of chips away at that. And it reminds you, again, this is something you can do every week or every month or every 2 weeks. It reminds you, no, your real identity and your real security comes from the God who created you, that has given you this ability to have this money or have this job or be in this influential position or whatever it is. It's just a reminder that money is just a tool.
You're investing in God's work, and you're investing in the church. And God does say, let there be light, but that's not how the lights come on in church. Like, we flip switches and we pay bills, and I'm investing in my children and their salvation. They've both come to know Jesus at Northway. In their relationships that they're making with other people. We're investing in ministries that we have no idea what's going on and who's in charge of it, but we know that what we're investing in is God's work.
We went into the furniture business, mattress business, flea market business, and all this. It went from a tire store to a flea market to a furniture store, now to a mattress store. We were thinking we were going to have this great tire business, and then we were going to have the furniture business that was going to supplement. We were going to do great. What I didn't know is, because tires now can be bought online at the same price I can buy them at, the tire business is going downhill, but at the same time, God was preparing another business for us to be in at that spot. And as the tire business has gone to almost nothing, God has prospered this business over here to supply our needs. And people look at me and they'll say, boy, you were smart to do that. I had no clue. I had no clue, and God did that. He prospered me in another business before I even knew I needed another business. God blesses that, and I can't even, beyond my explanation, I can tell you instances over and over. I can tell you one just happened, and I will, that God, I say, well, Lord, I'm giving this money, it still ain't got any income, you promised an income. And I know there are times He has sent people to us that has done stuff for us out of the goodness of their heart, have given us money, have repaired my store, have bought, and what they wanted maybe is a place that they could set up, maybe when we had a flea market there at one time, that they could set up a space. And they said, we'll do this for you if you'll just give us this space.
All of us are guilty of greed to some extent. Nobody wants to admit it in this country, but we are. If you live in this country, this is the wealthiest country in the history of the known world, and yet nobody thinks they're greedy. Nobody. Everybody knows when they commit other sins or when you're struggling with other things, always. But this is the one thing that hides itself. And this is one thing that you can do, like so much about the Christian life is you can't do this, you can't do this. You have to accept it. You just have to accept it. There's nothing to do. This is something that you can do to really take a stand against greed and materialism. You're saying, every week, whether it's every week or every month or once every 2 weeks, however often you do it, however often you tithe, you're saying, this is not mine, and this does not have control over me. I don't worship this. I worship the God who gave me the chance to have all this, but I don't worship this. This does not have control over me.
Hey guys, Kevin Mills here, and I'm glad you're part of Session 4. There's only one chapter in this book that I knew would hit every single person reading it, and it's this one. The topic is money. And this is one of those areas of life that affects every one of us. You just can't avoid it. To say that money doesn't influence your life is almost like saying oxygen doesn't influence your life. Whether you are rich or poor, or young or old, or black or white, money sits there as this potential master of your life. Now, if you've had the chance to read this chapter, you know that I outlined 3 different ways we can find ourselves chained to the money master. There's Mr. Debt, there's Mr. Stuff, and there's Mr. Security. Now, I think it's clear that the cruelest of these masters is Mr. Debt. From credit cards to student loans to car payments to mortgage payments, debt has just become this normal part of our lives. Nearly everyone I know carries at least one credit card, and most of us have 2 or 3 or more. As I outlined in the book, if we aren't careful, debt can easily become our master, telling us what we can and what we can't do. And Mr. Debt is a cruel master. Getting free from him can be very difficult and can honestly take years of our lives to do it. Or maybe you were one of the few Americans who you're debt-free. But maybe you are chained to Mr. Stuff. You've got enough money to buy what you want, and you buy a lot of it. Now, you feel like your happiness in life is dictated by what you own. Maybe you've thought, if I could just have and fill in the blank, then I would just be happy. If you've thought that, then maybe you're chained to stuff. Or maybe it's the security of having money. You don't care about the stuff and you don't have debt, but you want the big fat bank account. You go online several times a day to check the balance on your savings or your 401k or your checking account. And as long as you've got that nice cushion saved up, you can rest your head at night. And you may feel free, but in fact, you're chained as well to Mr. Security. So what do? How do we free ourselves from the bonds of money? How can we combat greed on a day-to-day basis? So in your group discussion, I'd love for you to talk about which of those three money masters you struggle with the most. Is it debt? Is it stuff? Or is it security? Or maybe you find yourself equally chained to all three. And then talk about as well the ways that you can find freedom from those masters and live your life unchained. And I hope you have a great discussion.